Hey y'all, it's Hans. It is episode 277 of Late Night Vision Show. And if you haven't noticed, we have been putting out quite a bit of content lately. Not only do we have our weekly show, as you know, every Thursday morning it is live, but we do our 2-Minute Tuesdays where we are previewing that week's episode of the content that we have coming out with that. And also we've started making some YouTube shorts. And I say some, we've made one, but it may be something that we're going to continue to do quick little 1-minute episodes of some tips and tricks and whatever we want to talk about. So we are putting out quite a bit of content these days. And my good buddy, who's been there since day one, helping me do it, and I'm helping him do it, Jason Robertson, owner of Outdoor Legacy. What are we talking about today?
So this show, guys, this shows directly a request from the comments on last week's show. So a lot of times, we tell y'all, and we mean this every week. Hey, if you've got a show that you want to see us do, a topic, please, leave a note in the comments, whatever. And a lot of times we'll write those down. It's a good idea. We'll write that down, and it might take 6 months. It might take a year before we get there sometimes. Exactly. So I think this is the quickest viewer request show we've ever done. Last week on episode 276, is that right? 276. Yep. We talked about, buying a used night vision or thermal scope and kind of, be careful there, how not to get scammed, where to look, what to do. Just some overall tips, because we get that question a lot. And so we mentioned, hey, in the future, we might do a show on, selling your scope. And that was literally off the cuff. Hey, we just might do that sometime. And one of our customers and a loyal listener of the show left a comment, and he's like, hey, please do that show. Because if, it helps y'all, if we can sell our scopes, then we can come to y'all and buy another one. So please do it. So I said, you know what? Let's do it. It's a good idea. It is. We got some other reviews, some other things that we're ready to do. We're waiting to do. But I was like, let's just do this. This way we'll have these two shows back to back. So Hans and I talked about it. So this is the show, the how to sell your used scope show.
We get this question a lot. People call in, they want to buy a new scope, and then they say, man, I've got to get rid of my old scope. Do you know where I can sell it? Do you know how much it's worth? And just like the last show that we did last week with the used market, being a seller in the used market, things have changed so much just in the past 12 months. So it is time for us to do this show to help you figure out how to sell your used scope and be able to get that new scope that you want. But before we jump into it, because we've got a long list of things to talk about, if you want to buy a night vision or a thermal optic, you can give us a call, 877-350-1818. OutdoorLegacyGear.com. You can talk to myself. You can talk to Ashley. You can talk to Jason. And we're going to make Ashley, we talked about this, we're going to make Ashley do some YouTube shorts on here. So you get to see him hopefully here pretty soon. But you can call us, talk about these optics, talk about your used scope, talk about, what would be a better scope for you moving forward. And we'd love to help you out. We'd love to earn your business. But you can give us a call, 877-350-1818. All right. So selling your used scope. We get this question all the time. People want to know how to do it. If you go to Facebook, if you go to all the social media places, you see just a huge number of used scopes on the market right now. But let's talk about how to sell yours. And Jason, we're just going to go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to say this list. Yeah, real quick, guys, just so you know, we've got about 9 or 10 things in this list. So we're just going to bullet point down this list. So it's going to be somewhat organized. When we get to each point, then it's going to be unorganized. And we've already kind of gone over this. We've both got several things to say about each of these. It's going to be kind of scatterbarrel at that point, but we do have a list. So Hans, jump right into the first thing.
I think, the first one we're going to talk about is just cleaning up your optic. And I think that is, I would say, pretty common sense. I don't know, Jason, you have it on our list. You put it here number one on our list. So I would say maybe it's not as common sense as I think. But yes, I would get Jason likes to use the can of the compressed air, keyboard clean. Yeah, just spray it off. I use a microfiber cloth or something, just to wipe it off real good. Y'all, when y'all are out running around, it's dusty. it's hard to get dust out of some of those cracks. But man, if you're taking a picture of it and trying to share it online, people can zoom in and they can see all that dust in the cracks and crevices on the mounts, around the mounts. Take a little bit of time, take a few minutes, clean it up real good, making sure that you're making a good presentation. It's just like taking in a vehicle. You know, if you're trying to sell a vehicle and you're putting it up on, I don't know where people sell you vehicles anymore. Auto Trader. I don't even know if that's around anymore. But
Is that even a thing?
you're gonna before you take pictures to post your used vehicle, you're probably gonna wash it, right? I mean, I would hope. But it's the same thing with the scope. Clean it up, make it look good. That's gonna go a long way, especially if you're trying to get a premium out. If you're trying to get as much money as you can, people are going to want to think that they are getting an optic that is babied and very well taken care of. It's like when you go buy a not side, if you go buy a side by side or a four wheeler, you know, the outside looks really clean, but the first thing you do is you go and lift that seat and to see how much dirt and mud and it's, you know, how well it's been taken care of. Same thing with the scope, y'all. Clean it up. Yeah. Like I said, I think that's pretty common sense, but that is definitely step number one.
Yeah, I think that Hans is right on all that. I think the one thing that I would say is I'm on like some hunting message boards that got classified sections. I don't ever buy anything, but I'm drawn to these classifieds. I guess I'm kind of like the old man that, you know, goes to the flea market and walks around, doesn't ever buy anything, doesn't ever really even look hard, but he just walks around every weekend. That's kind of me on these classifieds. And I do click on sometimes like these side by sides that are for sale. I've been thinking about selling mine, maybe getting something new in the future. And it is shocking how many guys do not clean it up. And wow. I think they kind of think it's a badge of honor. Like, yeah, I used it at the deer lease, man. And it's got mud. And I'm not talking like it looks like it's, you know, been underwater, but it's got a good bit of mud on it. And I'm thinking, man, I mean, you didn't even care enough to wash it off in your driveway before you took these pictures. So that always kind of tells me something. Hey, real quick on the cleaning it up, something I like to do if you get some dirt down in the cracks and stuff, if the compressed air and a little cloth won't get it out, I use those little alcohol wipes, like the Zeiss wipes. I'll use those down in the cracks. I'll just take those on the plastic or the metal of the scope. It won't hurt anything. You don't have to worry about, you know, if you again, it's just alcohol wipe on metal or plastic, and just wipe down in there, clean it up the best you can. I mean, people understand it's used, but Hans is right. If they think you're babying it, then it's gonna, you know, you're gonna get a little more for it, rather than the guy that's still got dried hog blood. Yeah. So, all right.
I'm shocked. I would think it's common sense, but you saying that about side by, that's crazy.
It's not. Wow. No. I see it on scopes too. I see guys selling their scopes online, and it looks like they just literally drug that thing across a dead coyote or something. There's brains on the buttons, and it's like, yeah, it's not great. All right. Awesome. Gather up the box and all the accessories. This is my advice. When you buy a new scope, this is me, okay? I come from a long line of Robertson men who keep the boxes to everything. That's the joke that's in our family. I mean, my granddad did it. My dad did it. I do it. We keep the boxes. Now, we also are meticulous. We take really, really good care of our stuff. Maybe overboard to a degree. So I know not everybody's that way, but if you have your box, man, does it do any good? No, but I think it helps you when you go to sell it. I don't think if you don't have the box, it's the end of the world. But I know that when I'm buying something, and I've bought a lot over the years, used digital cameras, used iPhones, iPads. There's a lot of electronics that I've bought over the years used. And whenever somebody has the box, the manual, the accessories, the cables, and they've got it all laid out there, I immediately think, this is somebody who probably takes care of their stuff. Now, maybe they don't. Maybe that's just what it looks like, but it makes me feel better. And so as a buyer, I would say you want to have all that stuff out there if you can, and just lay it out there in the photo. Another thing. So this is my opinion. Okay. You can take this for what this is worth. And I think this is true whether you're selling a thermal or night vision scope. if you're selling a side-by-side, if you're selling your custom AR-15, whatever it is, if you've got accessories that you can use on the next scope, keep them. And here's why. Because you're going to give them away with that scope. You're not going to get what they're worth. I mean, no difference than just think about you've got a winch that costs $1,500 on your side-by-side, and let's just say you could very easily take it off and it would fit the next model, and you go, well, somebody's going to like it because it's got a winch and I got $1,500 in it. You're not going to get $750, and that's the most you're going to get for that winch because people just don't give you for those accessories. Normally, that may not even be the exact accessory they want. So let's go back to scopes. So maybe you've got, let's just use this as an example. You got one of the thermal scopes or night vision that's in a 30 millimeter tube. So you've got one of the American Defense recon mounts that we sell and we love. Okay. Those mounts nowadays are $240. Price has just gone up over the years on them. If you include that with your scope, and we'll get into some values here in a little bit, but you know, I would say you're going to add $100, $125 for that mount. You're not going to get, if you paid $240, you're not going to get $240 for it. It just doesn't work that way. And you might get a guy who doesn't need that. He already has his own rings over here. He doesn't need that at all. So he's going to try to negotiate you out of that because he doesn't want it. So he's got to get the price down. If you're going to use that on your next scope anyway, just keep it. Sell it without that. People can get their own rings or their own mounts. Now, I will say this. If your next scope is not going to need that, then you need to go ahead and sell it with it. It's probably easier if you really, really wanted to. If you don't mind a little bit of a hassle, you can keep your extra batteries and your mounts and things, and you can list them separately later after you sell the scope, and then, you know, try to piece them out. But by the time you get through messing with tire kickers and people haggling and shipping them and all that, it is probably better to just include them. But anyway, I just make the point. Don't expect to get full price for your accessories. Again, we'll discuss that a little bit more. But if you know you're going to use the same accessories, just keep them and sell the scope as it is.
Yeah. So I'm going to say just real quick, because we got a long list to get through in a short amount of time. People like you annoy me because I am
Did
married.
you hear that?
Yeah, I am married to somebody, one of you box collectors, and every single item is, hey, put this box up in the attic. I've got an attic full of empty boxes, y'all. And it doesn't matter. A dust buster.
It's true. Yes.
You know, TV.
Yes.
Everything.
Everything.
You know, any home appliance we've got empty box for up in the attic. So y'all need to just chill out a little bit with the empty box deal.
You know you're a box hoarder when you get up there in that attic or in the top of that closet and you start looking at this stuff and you're like, I don't have that item and haven't had it in years, but I still have the box.
And I'll tell you, if I throw away a box, she'll bust me because it'll be the one thing that she needs the box for, and I've already thrown it away. It's just like, see, that's why I keep the boxes, because you never know when you're going to need it, and you throw them away. Well,
exactly.
I
feel her pain.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Yeah, y'all annoy me. So the other one. Take good pictures of your optic, and I would not take a picture of the optic on a rifle. I would take it off, especially if you're posting on social media, because social media is very weird about that kind of stuff right now with, you know, the fact that you're trying to sell your optic, but there's a rifle or a firearm in the picture. A lot of times they'll take it down, your post down completely. So take good pictures. You know, you don't have to be like an expert at it, but you know, try to get some good lighting, try to make it look good, take a little bit of time. If you need to do some edits on the photo, I don't know. Just don't take it like where it's on your rifle and it's thrown over your seat and, you know, you got empty Dr. Pepper bottles all over, you know,
exactly.
But take a little bit of time and effort to make a good presentation. But
I
definitely
think that,
the biggest thing is take it off the rifle.
Yeah, take it off the rifle because, again, a lot of places think you're going to be selling that rifle. That's what they see a for sale and there's a rifle in it, and you can't sell rifles on a lot of platforms or any kind of firearms. So take it off the rifle, or if it's, let me say this, if it's still on the rifle because maybe you got it in a tripod, just crop that or zoom in or crop down till it's just the scope. I mean, yeah, maybe if it's got the rail or something's fine, but don't have the whole rifle in there. Hans is right. I'll tell you what I think. If you, and I get most people aren't used to taking pictures of scopes. Hans and I are doing that all the time. So we're always trying to get creative and do different. You don't have to do that. I'll tell you a couple bad places and a couple good places. A bad place, besides your truck and dirty places and all that, is your bed. I don't care. Bedspreads do not make good backgrounds for scopes. Carpet is usually not a good place either. I'll tell you the two best places I've seen: hardwood floors, or some kind of a fake wood floor, whatever. You know what I mean? So a wood background looks nice. Your kitchen countertops. That's a lot of times I've seen, as long as your kitchen is fairly clean, you don't have dishes stacked up to the ceiling. I've seen a lot of guys that use their kitchen countertop because it's a good, counter height place that is normally clean, good lighting in your kitchen. That's a good place to take photos. I've just seen some really good, again, photos guys snap on their cell phones. Don't overthink it. Just try to take and don't take just one picture. Take pictures from multiple sides. I mean, again, lay all these accessories out, lay this box out, kind of back up and take a picture of all of that there together. Then go down and, again, take a photo from the front, take a photo from the side, whatever just let people know that, hey, I'm trying here. I'm trying to, I'm not hiding anything. And so, all right. Okay. This is a good one. We need to discuss this. I was actually going to bring this up. I didn't realize it was the next one on the list. So perfect. Warranty. This, we talked about this from the buyer's point of view last week. So we're going to talk about this from the seller's point of view. Remember, everything you're doing is for the buyer. You work for the buyer in this transaction, and you want him to feel good. You want him to pick your scope over the other 100 scopes out there that he's scrolling by. And so again, good pictures, all that is important, having it cleaned up. But warranty information, guys, give the proof of the warranty. And so here's what I mean. A lot of guys say, the scope has a 5-year warranty, and they'll say 4 years of warranty left. Okay, well, that's it. Okay, well, who says there's 4 years of warranty? How do I know there's 4 years? So what I think is way better than that is to do one or two different things here. One, find your receipt. You need your receipt for this. If you don't have your receipt when you purchase this from an authorized dealer, then you need to go back to them, send them an email, make a phone call, and say, hey, can you please send me a copy of my receipt, dated? That's not an uncommon question to go to an authorized dealer about whom you purchased it from. You don't have that option if you bought it from, Jim Bob, and Jim Bob said he bought it from them, because I can't send you somebody else's receipt. Does that make sense? So if you bought it from Jim Bob said he bought it from Outdoor Legacy, and you call Outdoor Legacy and say, I need Jim Bob's receipt. I can't send you that receipt. That's between me and Jim Bob. He's got to call me. I hope that makes sense. So call your dealer. Now, maybe you bought this scope used and you don't have that. You need that because you don't really know how much warranty you have other than what this guy told you. There needs to be an authorized a receipt from an authorized dealer of when it was originally purchased. That's the only real way to know. Other than that, it's all up in the air of what your warranty really is. So provide that. If you want, you can print that receipt out in an email or whatever. Print that. Mark out the information that's your name, your address, your phone number, anything you don't want in there. Mark out. You can leave the price you paid for it. Leave the dealer's name, whatever. It says Outdoor Legacy there. People say, okay, I know who Outdoor Legacy is. Whatever. Leave that there and circle that date. This is when it was purchased. And so that lets people get an idea of, okay, I can see how much warranty is left. Or if maybe you don't want to do that, whatever, then the second thing I would say is in that ad, say, purchased from whatever, authorized dealer, and insert name, Outdoor Legacy, on 3/15/2022. All right. Now you're telling them, I've got the proof. I know when I bought it, here it all is. And then you can keep that receipt and pass that on to them when you sell it. It is very, very important that if you're claiming this optic has a warranty, you have the proof to back it up. Your word or what you were told or what, that is nothing. That is going to help this guy zero, and he can get left out in the cold with a $500 or $2,000 or $5,000 paperweight. He needs your warranty information. If you don't have it, you need to be upfront and honest about that and say, I don't know. I know what I was told, but this is what I've got. So anyway, pass all the info you can forward about the warranty. I'm going to say this because I warned the buyers last week. This week as the seller, do not make false warranty claims. Not that should be obvious, but the whole I never registered it, so it's got a full warranty. I didn't fill out the warranty card in the box, or this is a warranty replacement. I sent my scope in, they sent me a brand new one, so it's got a full warranty. Incorrect. It has a warranty that started the date that you or whoever originally purchased it from an authorized dealer. You do not want to make those kind of claims and then somebody else find out after they buy it from you that it's not true. I mean, if you're making those claims, I'm telling you, that's not true. The warranty starts at the original purchase date. So don't scam somebody, don't lie, don't embellish, don't stretch the truth. Tell them the truth on the warranty, because that's a big deal. Guys are trusting you with several hundred or several $1,000s. So you need to be honest on this point. And it's gonna help you. Okay, this is gonna help you sell your scope for more money.
Yeah, exactly. So,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and I was going to lead into the next point.
Okay.
The biggest question that we get is where to sell. Where do I sell my optic? And that's, I'll just say this, and I'll let you go into it with all the different platforms. But the people that say that they did sell, that tell me that they did sell their optic, there are really two places that I hear more than anything. Mm-hmm. First one, sold it to a buddy that I know, or I've got a buddy that is going to buy it. So somebody in their town, somebody close to them, they can put the hands on it. They can see it's a good optic. They know who they're buying it from. They trust them. That one or Facebook. Those are the two ways or avenues that I hear of being most successful at selling their optics. But there's some others out there, Jason.
Yeah. So that's the two best ones. If you've got a buddy, a friend, an acquaintance, somebody, if you put the word out in your town, on your hunting lease or whatever, your group of guys, hey guys, I got this scope. I want to sell it. A lot of times it might just be texting a bunch of your hunting buddies and saying, hey guys, this is the scope I got. This is what I'd take for it from one of y'all, or one of your friends, and put the word out. I'm fixing to list this thing for sale. And you'd be surprised. Sometimes somebody goes, oh man, you know what? I got a buddy and he's wanting to get into it. Don't want to spend a bunch of money. I mean, that's a good way. Networking, word of mouth. I would always try that first. If you feel like you've got some buddies that might have some interest or know somebody who does. Hans is right. Facebook is the second most popular place going to specifically. And I want to be clear here. You need to go. Don't just go to Facebook and list this on your Facebook page, because that's just going to show it to your friends. And Facebook does not do well promoting or pushing out your for sale stuff on your own page. They know they just don't. Where you need to go is to a specific thermal buy sell group. Okay. And you can search that thermal or night vision, classified or buy sell. That's a common word people use, buy sell. And you can go there and list your optic. This doesn't cost anything to do. These groups are free to join. You may have to actually click join, answer a couple questions, and then wait for your approval and go in there and do all these things we've talked about and sell your scope there. But you don't just want to go onto any hunting group on Facebook and start trying to sell your stuff. Most of them are not classified ads. They're not made for that. They're there for you to talk about hunting, not to, sell what's in your, you're out in your garage. So go to the right place if you're going to go to Facebook and do it. Now, a couple other options. A really good place is hunting message boards, forums. A lot of these forums are regional. So I know like there's 2 or 3 that are Texas based hunting message boards. There's some I know guys in, up north where it's like Midwest or Michigan or whatever. Look, kind of search those out, see if you can find something like that. Most of those will have a classified section. Those are normally really good because a lot of times you're getting guys that are in your state or in your area. Second is that you're often getting guys who they're brand new to this. They don't even know where to start. They're looking for a deal. It's like the guy walking down the flea market and he goes, "Oh, thermal scope used. Oh man, I've been wanting one. I bet that's a deal." And I hate to say that he's uneducated or that he's ignorant or that he's going to pay you too much, but sometimes he's not that guy. Just think about it like this. Is it easier to sell your scope when it's the only one out there or when there's 10 more exactly like yours right down the page? No, it's easier when there's just one. So those a lot of times are a good place to go. I'll tell you another big one that people don't use enough, and it's eBay. And there's a couple reasons. I don't think eBay is, overly popular with a lot of people in our industry. You can't sell guns and gun parts there. So that's probably why. But the one thing about eBay is that you will get out in front of a lot of people, and they have a platform that is set up that is designed to sell things. If you want to do an auction, you can. If you want to do the buy it now, this is the price, you can. It's a really good platform. The issue that a lot of people don't like is they're going to charge you. You're going to pay anywhere from probably 10 to 12% to sell that item there. So whatever it sells for, if it sells for $1,000, you can expect to pay somewhere, kind of depending on the way you set the auction up or the sale, $100 to $120. They're going to get their commission, but they've got a platform with millions of people coming there. So that is definitely another option. The last thing I'm going to quickly touch on is trade-ins. We get asked this question all the time. Do you take trade-ins? And we turn a lot of people away. We say, well, we do, but you don't want to do it because you're not going to get what, as much as the scope is really worth. So here's what I would say. Trade-ins are a good way for you to quickly dump your scope and get into a new scope. All right. So a lot of dealers, us included, will take a trade-in, but I'm going to be honest with you up front. And that's why we turn people away. You're not going to get as much money as if you went and sold it on your own, but that's not rocket science. Okay. It's not. I'm just telling you, it's not going to be a good deal for you. But if you want to do it and you go, well, man, why are you admitting that? I'm admitting it because we're not in the business of selling used scopes, but we will. But we have not just all dealers, if they do a good job of this, they have a high cost in that. They've got to get the optic. They've got to test the optic. They've got to clean it up if it needs to be cleaned up. They've got to go out and list it. They've got to try to sell it. They've got the tire kickers. They've got all this going on. Then when they sell that optic, they've got to provide support for that optic. You as an individual, if you sell your scope on Facebook or some classified ad, you're never going to talk to that guy again. He gets it. He's happy with it. You won't remember his name in a week. Our phone number's out there, and we sold this guy scope, so he can call us back for 5 years asking questions. How do I zero? What do I do? All that. So there's a high cost in that for us, and we're a business. We've got 6 full-time employees. We've got to make money just like every other dealer does. So you're going to take less. But if you just want to get rid of it, that's the way to do it. It's no different than selling, or trading in your used truck to buy a new one. Now, car dealers got a pretty good way because they can take the top and the bottom, the trade-in and the new vehicle, and they can hide some stuff in there. But let me just tell you something. I don't care how good you think you are at negotiating, they're getting you because they're making money both ways. They're going to sell your used vehicle and make money. I promise you. That's what they're doing. So anyway, just remember that a trade-in is an option, but you can't trade in and expect to get anywhere near what you're going to get on the open market. So, if you're wanting to maximize the most, I'd say go sell it, out front yourself.
So that was one of the biggest questions, where to sell the optic. The other big question is, how much is my used scope worth? And this is
I'm going to let
the
Hans handle
compli-
this one. I'm going to take a nap.
This is the complicated part. So if you would have asked 24 months ago, 15 months ago, you know, what we were telling people, I would say, or what I was telling people over a year ago was if you, when you purchase your optic and you have it about a year, in a lot of cases, you can get about 80% of the original value in in the used market. So basically, getting back 80% of what you paid for the optic. Now, that was in a very different time. This is a very flooded, not just a very flooded used scope market. It's a very flooded new market, and the prices and everything are all over the place. A scope that and this has happened quite a bit, and it's never fun, but a scope that you may have paid full price for, a year later, it may be, drastically cut in price. And so that's definitely going to affect the value of your scope moving forward. So
Well, hold
I
on
wish
real
there was,
quick. I just want to say what I think Hans means there is they may have, when he says cut price, that they may have dropped the price. That scope may still be for sale, but it may be selling for 500 or 1,000 or $2,000 less than you paid for it. That I just want to be clear. That's what he's
exactly.
getting
Yeah.
at. So yeah, so the
They
new
cut the
price
price
could
of
be
it.
wildly
Yeah.
less than what you paid. Could be.
Yeah. If they cut the price on it and it's on sale right now, and now that definitely is going to affect the value of your resale. So to say that you can put a number on it, it's really difficult. The best thing to do is just kind of get online and see what other people are selling their optics for in the used market. And the best place, like Jason said, was the Facebook forums, where you can go and get a look at a lot of different scopes that are going for sale. A scope that is still in warranty, let's say it's about a year old, a current model year scope, you could still, in good conditions, you could still, after a year of ownership, still get probably close to 80%. But that's really the top of that. That's the starting point of 80% of the value of what you paid for it. So, in some cases, though, it could be quite a bit less than that. It could go down to half of what you paid for it, depending on if that scope's if that scope model's still around, if it's been discontinued, if they're selling new scopes that are around the same price that are higher resolution. There's just so much has changed in this point of what is my scope worth because of the markets, the used market and the new market. I don't know what you want to add to that, Jason, but
I'm only going to add a couple things. I think Hans said all that very well. Basically, your scope is worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. You do not have to sell it for that price. You can sell it you can attempt to sell it for whatever you want. But I see some guys that get angry. Well, I'll keep it before I do that. Fine, keep it, but don't get mad. I mean, that's just what the market says that it's worth, and it's supply and demand. And up until this point, up until the last, I'd say, I don't know, 8 to 12 months in this market, there's always been somewhat of a supply and demand issue. There's been a very limited number of thermal manufacturers or night vision manufacturers, and a limited number of scopes. As this sport has become more and more popular, there's been more and more people buying optics. There's more and more manufacturers coming into the market. So there's just more scopes. We're also coming off of COVID, where there was supply chain issues. So we had 2 or 3 years of a huge demand and low supply. Now the demand is still there, but the supply is just everything's sitting on the shelf. So it's just, just going to be less. I would say a couple quick things, and I'm going to move on to the next point. One, the best time to sell your scope is the time that you want to be hunting with it. The worst time to sell your scope is when you don't want to be hunting with it, because nobody else does either. So when I say that, September, October, it starts to get into the busier season. November, December, January, February, those are your absolutely best times. As it warms up and, spring and summer come and less people are hunting, it's the worst time. So spring and summer, you're probably going to have a harder time selling it and get less for it because there's just less people out there actually hunting during those times. I know there's some people still are, but not the masses. So selling it in the fall and the winter, when other people are hunting, logically is going to be the best time. And I would just say this: if you have a scope that doesn't have a warranty, it's definitely going to be worth a good bit less, probably 50% of what, I mean, 50% or less, that'd be a maximum of what it was ever new. Hans made a good point there, and I don't want to belabor this, but it's sometimes it's not what you paid for it. It's what that optic last sold for before it was discontinued, or if it's still a current model, what it sells for now. Because you might have paid $5,000 for something, but before they, when they closed them out, when the new model was coming, they sold them for 4,000 or 4,500. Well, the new price, the new starting price is 45 or 4, whatever that was. So it might take a little bit of research to kind of do there. Anyway, go ahead. Were you going to say something, Hans?
I was going to say, yeah, the new price, whatever the new price is, and we talked about that affecting it, but this is what my optic is worth, what my U-scope is worth. This is something that's going to take a little bit of research. And whether you're dealing with a dealer trying to buy a new optic, like a lot of people do, they call us, they pick out the new scope they want. We get asked this all the time, and we can give our input just because we see so many, but get on, do a little research, be okay with sometimes having to bite the bullet on something. If you really want that new optic and you really got to get rid of your old one, sometimes you're going to take a little bit of a hit. But
last two things I'll say on this is that when it comes to what is your scope worth, Hans is right. I say go do the research, go search around, but don't look at what people are asking. Look at optics that you can tell have sold. Anybody can ask anything. There's a whole lot of optics that sit out there and go unsold because the price is too high. You need to be looking at ads and say, can I tell, did this guy sell this? I want to know. Not because if he didn't, that price was too high. There's your answer. The last thing I'll say, this is something that I learned a long, long time ago in real estate, and that is 3 things they'll teach you as all beginners. 101, condition, location, and price. So in a thermal scope, you're taking it away from real estate now. The condition, you've cleaned it up. You can't change the condition. The location is going to be your model. Now you can't change that. Just like in real estate, you can't change the location. So what can you do? You can change the price. Those are the 3 things that affect every sale of everything. Condition, location, and price, or condition, model, and price. And when it comes to these, the price is what changes. So if it's not selling, it's the price. The lower the price, and you'll sell it. All right, moving in. This is easy. It seems logical, but I'm telling you guys, the market has changed. This is a buyer's market, not a seller's market. You need to be easy to deal with. Don't be a jerk. These people are your customers. I mean, you're trying to sell something, and because of the number of scams that are out there, there is a lot of people who wisely are very scared of buying something used online for several $1,000s and outside of a safety platform like eBay, where they've got an intermediary where if you scam them, then they can go back to eBay and go, I got scammed. And eBay takes this up, and they are putting a lot of faith in some random guy on the internet. And every single day there are, and this is not like some exaggeration of there are guys getting scammed. And so they're very wary of walking around these landmines. So they may ask for weird things that 3 years ago I'd have laughed and said, no, I wouldn't do that. They may say, hey, write down my name on a piece of paper and the date and put it next to the scope and take a picture of it. And you may go, that's the most absurd thing I've ever heard. What he's trying to do is figure out if you really have that scope in your possession. He may also ask for a phone call. Hey, can we talk on the phone? I want to hear your voice. I want to talk to you. He might say, can we do a FaceTime or a Zoom or video call of some sort? I want to see you. I want you to hold that scope up. I think when it comes to that, I know a lot of people would be uncomfortable doing that. I don't really know about that. I think it depends on how bad you want to sell the optic and maybe how much money it's worth. I mean, the more valuable it is, the more likely I think you ought to be to agree to, okay, I'll do a FaceTime with you or whatever. I'd also make sure these guys are serious. You don't want to be doing this 50 times, but I think that most guys that are going to be that, get to that point are pretty serious about wanting the optic. Just generally, the rule is you need to be accommodating. If the guy's just asking for the moon and he's some tire kicker, blow him off. You can do whatever you want to do, but I don't think it is absurd or out of line at this point in time for a guy to say, hey, whatever. Send me a picture with you write this on there, and so I know you've got the scope, or hey, maybe we can just talk on the phone. I mean, the video deal, that's the best thing, but just talking to a guy on the phone, a lot of times you'll get a pretty good idea of, hey, this is a guy just like me. Seems it seems pretty normal. Doesn't sound like a scammer. You may be getting scammed, but probably not. So anyway, just be reasonable and accommodating to the buyers.
So you done that. You go through the process. You think you got a buyer. The next thing is payment process, and this is a scary part because you're talking about in some cases several $1,000s, and what platform is really the safest. And you talked about eBay. One of them that we know that people have been really taking advantage of on PayPal, if they're not selecting or paying through the the goods and services, I guess that avenue. I'm not familiar with PayPal, but I know that people have talked about using the friends and family. Like some of these scammers want to use friends and family because there's no fees, but there's no recourse, and there's no basic security for the buyer in that case. So definitely want to use goods and services avenue on the PayPal transaction.
Yes. Hans nailed that. If you use goods and services, you are operating as a business. You are paying about a 3% commission to PayPal for that transaction, which that's what all businesses have to do. Everybody that you swipe your credit card with on a daily basis is paying those fees. You are a seller now, you're going to pay those fees. But what that does is it gives recourse to the buyer that, if you were to scam him or you were to send him a box with a brick in it or whatever, he can now come back and say, hey, PayPal, I got scammed out of my money. If it's friends and family, there is zero recourse for him. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying, well, that's his problem, not mine. And I see this all the time. We'll take goods and services, you pay the fee. That is a quick way of saying, I don't really want to sell this that bad. If you want to sell the optic, that's a cost of doing business. Again, it's a cost for every dealer that's out there. Everybody, you buy gas, so you're not paying that fee. I would figure that into my price. That's way easier. You're right. You're going to have to pay it. Then put it in there. If you're selling a $1,000 optic, it's going to cost you $30. Put that in your price. If $3,000 is going to cost you $90, add $100 onto the price, whatever that makes you feel good. But I can tell you that it's a turn off to buyers when they see you pay the fees. Well, figure that in. And that kind of rolls in here to the last one, which is on shipping. Same kind of thing. If you want to, one way I think is more negotiable friendly is say, we'll split the fees. Shipping and insurance will split. But when it's always like it's on the buyer, it just looks bad. It just looks like somebody who's not trying to sell this very hard. I think if you had to raise your price a little bit, but your ad said, we'll use PayPal goods and services, I'll cover all fees, I will ship an insurance on my nickel to you. I'm like, this guy wants to sell a scope. He's being reasonable. And I think then if that guy the buyer wants to negotiate with you, hey man, I'll give you $500 less. Hey man, listen, I'm paying 3% of these fees to cover you, not me. I'm also shipping and insuring it. This is going to be, I'm covering. So let's negotiate a little less. I think I would understand that as a buyer. So when it comes to shipping, do not use the postal service. I do not know what it is, but there is a lot of people who seem to think that the U.S. Postal Service is still the best way to send things. And maybe that is if you're sending letters. I don't know. But I promise you, as somebody who owns a business that ships thousands of packages around the whole country every year, the Postal Service is the least reliable, especially for these expensive optics. I just would not do it. I don't want to offend any postal workers that are out there. I'm sorry, but we just doesn't mean that FedEx and UPS are perfect. But I would definitely they're usually more likely to get that package there quicker too, 2 to 3 days depending on where you're going. So UPS and FedEx. And I personally would advise you to insure that package. If you don't, I want to be clear on this. What this means, if you as the seller ship the package and that never shows up there, you've lost your scope and you have to refund that buyer. You have zero. And add insult to injury, you're probably going to lose those 3% of those fees in the middle there. So you need to insure this package. If you're shipping 100 packages or 1,000 packages and you want to do the math and you say, I don't think this insurance is worth it, I'm going to just self-insure and gamble, I think that's fine. If you want to do it on this, I think that is totally up to you. But you need to understand the gamble as the seller. If that package does not arrive in pristine shape to the buyer, it is your responsibility, and you don't want to have that damaged scope. So you get a brick back that's, a scope that's no good, or a package that disappeared. And it does happen from time to time. So again, my advice, if you're a gambler and you say, forget it, because insurance is high. It is not cheap. But anyway, something to consider. All right, guys, there's a lot there. We've gone through a whole bunch. I know we've taken a long time to do it, but we want you, when you sell your used optic, to get as much money as you can, because what that allows you to do is to come to dealers like ourselves and buy you a brand new scope. And the more money you got, the better it is for us. The more money you have to buy a new scope. So this is in our best interest. We want you to get the most you can for your optic. So that's why we did this. We hope that it helps you, and we hope that you have a good luck getting rid of whatever optic you got, so that you can upgrade and move on to the next one.
Yep. So if you're interested, when you do when you do sell your scope, if you're interested in buying a new one, give us a call, 877-350-1818, outdoorlegacygear.com. Last year, we talked about buying a used scope, or last week we did. This week, we talked about selling your used scope. And we appreciate y'all joining us. If you're looking for past episodes, you can find all of them, thelatenightVisionShow.com, all of our past episodes, obviously there and on YouTube. If you're listening in the car, on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, we appreciate you tuning in as well. And then if you're looking to find Jason on the social medias, you can find him at Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube, Outdoor Legacy or Outdoor Legacy Gear. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube at Hans ETX. That's HANS ETX. Just released the review of the Adder TM5640. That review video was released last week, so go check that out. And then Ashley, our other salesman, you can find him on, sorry, my voice is kind of breaking up, Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube at Rowe ETX. That's ROWE ETX on all the social medias.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope it helped just a little bit. Y'all stay tuned to the Late Night Vision Show. We have got some more reviews and stuff coming up. We've got some new optics. We're still waiting to actually hit the market, a couple exciting optics. We've got some things that we've just been pushing to the side because there's so much been going on this summer that we need to review, and or the scopes that we've been using for 6 months. So we're going to be doing that very soon. Y'all stick around. Between now and then, y'all stay safe in the fields and keep making those bacon pancakes.